Okay. Charming noise. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Screw you, Paul. So,
That's saying in, I'm telling you right now.
we're creating the Turkish Diplomats present Charming Noise. I am one of your co-hosts, Thomas Crofel. As always, the intrepid explorer, Calvin Roach.
Hello?
And of course, the fuck you Paul guy, Paul Hogue.
Hey, is that Freedom Rock?
Yeah, man.
Well, turn it up, man.
Oh, it's going to be one of those shows. Okay, so
Yeah.
tonight's review is about a 1985 film called Biohazard. And just to clarify, we want to really stress that this is the 1985 version because I found out that there was a 2021 version of Biohazard that was part of the Resident Evil universe. And then there was also a 2019 short film called Biohazard, which I'm kind of interested in. It's like 9 minutes. But this is the 1985 masterpiece of a film.
And that's not one word. There's a master of it, and it's a piece.
Yeah.
So,
So this is a film that Calvin chose. So Calvin, would you like to give us the plot summary, or you want one of us to do it?
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. Apparently, there's a top secret lab, which anybody can apparently find, where they're conducting mental telepathy experiments and also using mental telepathy to transport matter from another world to ours. And of course, there's the obligatory military, overbearing military asshole there who demands to confiscate it. There's the congressman who's got more important things to do. The clueless soldiers who are there to transport it. The girl with the really big eyes.
huge tracts of land.
Huge tracts of land. Which, by the way,
Pettyjohn.
I'm going to pose a challenge. I'm going to pose a challenge to you guys. If you've not looked up that actress's bio, don't. See if you can guess where you've seen her from before.
As soon as I saw her on the
kind of roll along. Well, besides that one.
I thought maybe she might have been in music videos.
I don't think so, but you could be right. It wasn't mentioned.
She's got a famous meme out there on the internet. You see it pop up quite often on Facebook feeds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Here's another hint for the listeners. Bake potatoes.
Okay, that was kind of escaping me.
It's part of the meme.
It is, and I thought I remembered it. I thought I wrote it down, but I guess I didn't. Anyway, if you guys think about where you've seen her before, let me know, and I'll tell you where I first remember seeing her. So
maybe we can post that meme on in a couple of days.
Yeah. And also, she's not Lady Gaga's mother, although she does bear a passing resemblance to Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that's essentially the movie. It is extremely cliche. The The acting is about as exciting as watching a piece of cardboard dry in the sun. There are parts where they should be reacting in horror and they're just standing there.
I gotta say, I thought the main actor, the whose name changed during during the show
several times, and they
Yeah.
kept it in. And here's the thing.
Well,
Yeah.
they would call him Mitchell, and then it would call him Carter.
Yeah.
His first and last name. Which I had to go to the credits to find that out. To make sure
So his name is like Carter Mitchell, or
it's Mitchell Carter. Yeah, Mitchell Carter.
Oh, that's okay. Okay.
But they
And
also
both
left it in the bloopers in the credits.
Yes, the bloopers at the end are pretty good. Yeah.
The most entertaining
and-
part of the film, easily.
And his adversary is a guy named Rieger, who apparently both served in Vietnam together, although they don't look like they're old enough to have, ever been to Vietnam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cut down a lot of villages with this weapon. Like, oh my God.
But this all of the male characters in this film all had that 1980s movie machismo kind of vibe going for them. Either that or they were like the spaghetti noodle guys.
Except for the hapless young soldier who was the driver and stole that piece of the artifact.
Yeah.
He didn't have any machismo at all. He was just a dumbass. So
him and the guy who died on the dirt road.
This is nice. I like this piece of art.
Which if you pause the film during some of those scenes and look at that alien artifact, it is cardboard completely wrapped in duct tape and spray paint.
Yeah. Oh, we could see that. I think they were not betting on this being upgraded to HD at some point. Because it looked, and the movie looked incredible. By the way, just technical thing, the movie looked incredibly clear and new.
Yeah.
Except that it was shaking violently, especially at the beginning of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was almost like they were simulating an earthquake for the first 15 minutes of the
movie. It did kind of look like that. Yeah.
And I think it's part of the upgrade thing where it's just it's trying to I think the software is like trying to balance the screen and smooth things out.
Yeah. But anyway, that's the gist of it. Alien artifact brought from another world. Military wants to keep it for themselves. They tell them to load it in the van, which is a MASH. One of the old Army surplus Jeeps like they used on MASH.
Which was the cleanest dang Jeep I've ever seen.
That's exactly the note I had. That is the cleanest military vehicle I've ever seen.
And it was also
military vehicles literally unpacked from the grease in the crate and not look that clean. And
it was also the most unassuming caravan to carry top secret material, because it's just this truck and a red Jeep, from like Morecambe, Indy or something, whatever those
filled with
are.
2 congressmen and a general.
But anyway,
the general, by the way, was played by Aldo Ray, who, if you've watched any war film with John Wayne about Vietnam or Korea, he's in it.
Yeah. He
so is he, because I couldn't find a reference to, because the director of the movie and he also played one of the medics I'm trying to remember, his last name was Ray. I'm forgetting the guy's full name right now.
I wrote it down.
But his last name, was he Aldo Ray's son?
I don't know. I couldn't find a reference to that either.
I didn't bother to look. No.
But the creature that was in the box
Yes.
was his son.
Yes. It
Was the director's son.
Yes.
The 7-year-old son. And understand, this movie is not the thing a 7-year-old should watch.
Well, maybe they just had him film his parts and made him go to bed before they showed it at home.
I hope
Well,
so.
now for the time period that this film was made, perfectly fine,
Yeah.
because you had Skinamax, you had
That's true.
HBO After Dark, you had all that stuff. So yeah,
And PG-13 was given a wide berth at the time.
It was. You're right. It really was. Yeah.
It was easily overlapping into the R-rated category quite often. But so I'll tell you, I watched this movie today with family. So my brother and my sister-in-law watched it with me. And one of the first things they said after it was completed was they now understood how we are performing a public service. A quote from my sister-in-law that I said, "Oh yeah, that's the way we see it, because there are movies not everybody should watch." And I said, "Here's the thing. We've seen far worse than this."
Yes.
Yes. And this was pretty damn bad.
Yeah.
There is some nudity in here,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a big surprise because it just it happened. And
and frankly, I was rather glad that it did.
Yeah.
And another room today. Well, wait, why is she middle-aged?
Yeah.
Now, here's a story about this. I'm not going to reveal the actress's name or where she's famous from, but the director had said, when I first saw her, I knew I had to make a movie with her. She had to be in this.
Yes.
So he had big.
I think I know who it is. I think I know who it is now, and I just realized who I think it is. Okay. And I'll stay quiet because I want to see what the feedback is.
Sure.
From our audience, general population at prisons.
There was,
and everyone in Canada.
I mean, even like the IMDb mention of it and Wikipedia both mentioned this being a low budget homage, or send up was the word, to the first Alien movie, because it basically was.
You can see that
borrowed
kind of
elements from it for sure.
Yeah, the design of the creature was kind of a cross between the alien xenomorph and a cockroach from a Raid commercial.
The head reminded me of Grumpy the Tyrannosaurus from Land of the Lost.
One thing that they did, so there were a lot of people killed throughout the movie. I couldn't keep up with them after a while. I mean, like, they were characters that had been introduced, but I never could figure out really who they were to begin with. And it didn't really detract from the story. It was just good for body count. But what was interesting, and something I wish somebody had described, was why the alien always killed by attacking the right side of a person's face. Because every single one of them had that, like, it never went for the middle, never went for the left, never went for a limb. No, went right for the face and just on one side.
And when they collapsed on the ground, there were gallons of fake blood pouring out of their mouth.
Oh yeah. It was like Japanese anime levels of blood coming out, which I appreciate.
Yeah. Yeah.
They did not hold back on blood.
Was it Glenn who once said, if you can stop the flow of blood, you can survive a head wound or something like that?
Yes, it
Well,
was.
see, there
It
you go.
was.
These guys didn't know how to stop the bleeding. So,
Well,
Did
granted,
you
in
notice
that
though?
situation, there'd only be one entrance hole, and this one, there was as many as a 7-year-old could possibly sink into someone's face.
Did you notice that the blood changed colors? Sometimes it was
yes,
red,
Yeah, I did
sometimes
that.
it was black, sometimes it was bright fluorescent orange.
yes.
I think
And
they were mixing their own up, and they weren't very consistent with
and
the.
a couple of times it was just Alka-Seltzer foam getting
Yeah.
it out of someone's mouth.
Yeah, that was another question my family had was how are they making the foam? And that's what I think. I think they literally dropped these Alka-Seltzer tablets into the mouth and then they just let it foam out.
You know, here, take this tablet and this big drink of warm Sprite and hold it in as long as you can.
Yeah, and sometimes it would bubble out like bright pink, like they had mixed it with Pepto Bismol or something. And then other times just a flow of red. And honestly, it was effective as far as if you like a good blood. It wasn't bad. They didn't have bad effects. I mean, like they had like skin ripped away and flesh ripped away. I was like, okay, I'll give them credit for that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Let me go through my notes here because they're. I had let's see. New scene: blonde psychic being tested. Psychic demonstration with helmet. Worker gets electrocuted. Okay, this was the first death in the movie.
Which I love the way they did it.
Right before he contacts like the guy who's heading up the experiment, and he says, because there's a break in the line, right? And so they have to, or in the antenna, I think.
Yeah, the antenna, the line to the antenna or something. You're right.
And so this guy goes up to repair it, and he's got a walkie-talkie, right, or handy-talkie. And he calls the guy, and he says, "Yeah, I should be done in about 5 minutes." Now you would think that if it's going to be dangerous, the guy would have just double checked, but he didn't. He just began the experiment, and for some reason, once they had our psychic hooked up, she apparently acted as a giant battery and sent massive amounts of electricity through the line. The guy was not finished. He was like getting the last screw in, I guess. And then he starts getting fried, and he literally cooks until his flesh cooks off of his face, and he falls back, and no one seems to know, and we never hear it addressed again.
The thing,
there's a dead guy.
The thing about that whole sequence that caught me off guard was Professor, whatever his name was. In fact, one time they call him Professor Honeydew. They do call him that at some point. That's not his real name.
Oh yeah, but he was saying that as being
sarcastic.
He was being facetious. Okay,
Yeah.
Who are you, Professor Honeydew? And I'm like, hey man, you better be careful with those Muppet references. You know,
That's right. But the professor, in order to contact the fix-it guy, leaves the entire area of the experiment, walks down a hall to a wall intercom, talks to him there, then goes back to the experimental room. And when the guy tries to yell, "Stop! Don't do anything yet," there's no one there to hear it.
Yeah.
I thought, what? But yeah,
there were a lot of just, what? No.
And that broke all believability for me right there. Just 5 minutes into the movie.
Oh yeah, and you're just because the rest of it was perfect, but that one little moment. Well, here's the thing. So they do this experiment, and apparently they judge the experiment as a success, not knowing that their one repairman has apparently been burned beyond recognition, and they keep talking. They start talking about, well, that's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Only they don't say what it is. I'm sitting there like, I have no idea what just happened, other than the lady rolled her eyes back in her head. And
And
I mean,
thought the box
I guess that
I thought the box that she manifested was already there when the experiment started.
it was. They said they got that the day before.
Yeah, yeah. And how that little dime store statue on top of it was clearly an indication of an alien intelligence to have sculpted that.
Which it looks sort of like the mermaid sculpture in the Netherlands,
Oh, Lorelei?
And-
yeah.
Yeah, it looked a little bit. It wasn't, but it was clearly like a cheap little trinket thing.
You remember they used to have these in zoos. You would put in like $5 and you would get a wax statue of a gorilla or an elephant or something.
Yeah.
That's what that looked like to me. To get rid of the detail, they just took a blowtorch to it and kind of smoothed it out.
Yeah, exactly. And in the meantime, the box is literally duct tape around a box. I mean, that's all of the props, other than that little thing, were just.
It's got a air conditioner intake vent, duct tape to it. Make it more space.
Yes,
alien.
that's what that was. I was trying to figure out. I thought it was a check sorting machine at first, and but yeah, it was terrible. But anyway, yeah, they it was just very bizarre, and yeah, they don't explain. So they don't explain how it was possibly successful, and the box that is the focus of the show. Yeah, it was already there. So really, none of the first 15 minutes was necessary. So,
right, not a bit.
And then they had the homeless people that they killed who were there just to be cannon fodder, talking about culinary practices. And then you've got a couple of other people there for no reason. And then there was the big showdown between the two macho guys. I'm speeding this all up a little bit because we only got like 9 minutes left. And
the guy that was inside the thing, the second death, with the first one that was killed by a creature. I'm sorry, I just couldn't help get past the fact that his combat boots had red laces.
Yeah. The homeless guys were in someone's backyard because that was the back of a house and there was an air conditioner unit next to it. The kid who wandered up with the dog was just there to be killed. Had no bearing on anything else.
Now, was that also the director's son?
No, that was a teenager or maybe 20-year-old kid.
Oh, okay.
Unless he was unless he was a different son.
I don't know, because it seemed like it's becoming a family project at this point.
Yeah.
And
then there was the older couple. By the way, best appearance in the movie.
The woman?
Yes.
Her name was, let me find it here. Her name was Rula. What's her name?
Well, I have to say, while you're looking for that,
Rula Carol Boland.
She was easily the best thing in the movie.
She was Count Mora's daughter in the 1935 Mark of the Vampire, which starred Bela Lugosi.
Oh my God!
As Count Mora, and the costume design for her is what has become the classic female vampire look, with the long black hair, the long white flowing gown.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
She does this bit where she's like the annoying wife and plays it where she literally didn't stop speaking, and you could tell she's speaking extemporaneously after a while.
Yeah.
And they just keep the camera going. And it's brilliant.
Okay, we're running out of time, so I do want to mention who the actress was now before we run out of time. If you're of a certain age and you grew up watching Star Trek, in the episode Gamesters of Triskelion, she was the green-haired woman named Shauna.
Oh,
Yes.
oh, not the green skin girl.
No, not the
green-haired
woman.
woman. Yeah,
Right.
the green-haired woman.
girl. Okay.
She had a silver
aluminum,
bikini and aluminum foil.
the aluminum foil, bikini, whatever. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She went on to be in one of the Planet of the Apes movies, but then her career died. She became a burlesque dancer. She tried acting in porn, and that didn't work. And she basically died and nobody. It was very sad.
And she was kind of young,
Yeah.
like 54 or something.
Yeah, she was very young. Yeah. But
So
anyway,
she was doing this. So that she did this like 15 years after the Star Trek episode.
yeah. So,
She's doing fine.
But we'll jump ahead. We'll skip a lot of stuff here. I'd kind of like to talk about a lot more, but the ending where we're going to spoil the ending, where Lisa, the blonde girl, turns out to be an incubator for these aliens, and they've actually been on Earth a long time. And the hero, Carter Mitchell, just goes, "Well, that's it then," and it ends.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And the reveal of her being that is that she starts speaking. I think they kind of decided this last minute.
Yeah.
I don't think they're like, oh, it's gonna be a great ending.
Yeah.
I think they went, hey, we got this special effects guy for another day.
Let's make a sock puppet that looks like somebody threw up all over it.
Yeah, it was clearly designed to look like the alien chest burster. And there's that whole scene in that guy's kitchen, which I would love to talk about, when they open up the artifact, the box, but we're going to run out of time because that's a whole chapter in and of itself of how bad.
Also attacked the right side of the face, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, it did.
Snake creature. It did. The snake creature who could leap. And had to be hammered to death.
Now, one of the things that I enjoyed about this movie was the soundtrack. It had that horrible 80s synthesizer soundtrack to it that reminded me of Michael Nesmith's Sunset Sam cruising song.
Yeah, it did kind of sound like Sunset Sam.
Oh my gosh. There's an obscure reference.
And then it ended with rockabilly music.
Yes.
Yeah, the longest rockabilly song in history.
They said, listen, we've got this movie sucks, but we've got a whole lot of bloopers because all of these old men are senile and they can't remember anything. And and we're just feeding them lines as they go through. So
that was and I thought the bloopers was the best part of the film. It's like every scene it was like
easily.
line.
How much time we have left, guys?
About 3 minutes.
Okay. We do have time to talk about that. Okay. The device on the table. When they go there, but the kid calls the guy who's at Lisa's house, who they are just about to get it on after meeting for the first time ever about an hour ago. God, I miss the 80s and that kind of stuff. Anyway.
And by the way, her bra, just a little short.
It was. And so the kid calls him. They go to his house. He's got this thing sitting on a table. And as they pry it open with a screwdriver or something, Mitchell Carter says, okay, stand back. It might be poisonous gas. And then gas pours out of it. And they just stand there with their hands over their mouths, breathing this poisonous gas or whatever. And when the creature crawls out, it's obvious a ripoff from Alien, but it's a terrible little puppet. And they all just stand there like, okay, linguine for dinner? Is that what And then the thing attacks the guy, and then it goes, and then the mysterious government agent shows up from nowhere. But that whole sequence encapsulated how bad the acting was in this whole film, right? That part right there.
And man, this movie was absolutely packed with B-movie extras that I have seen in movie after movie after movie. Because even the guy Mitchell Carter, or whatever his name is
Mitchell Carter. Mitchell.
He wasn't bad. He was the kind of guy that you would get, a moderately handsome guy, and he could get through his lines and didn't sound too ridiculous, as long as for terrible dialogue,
right?
Right.
But
all of the old men, like the guy they ran into, like there's a guy in the guy who was guarding a bin, a garbage bin.
Yeah.
And apparently,
we're out of time, guys. So for our listeners, thank you for joining us. Remember,
we've never done that.
Well, I'm running the clock now, so you can find us at all of your podcast places, wherever you listen to it, on YouTube, Apple thing, that Podbeam, and anywhere you do that. And we've got
Spotify and TuneIn,
iTunes, and not iTunes, TuneIn. You're right, Paul. Duh.
Yeah,
I'm an idiot.
And something else we're forgetting.
Well, as they say, even the best laid plans go to hell, or something. Anyway, we hope you join us next time for the next episode of Turkish Diplomats Present Charming Movies.